I'd just like to say that Carole and I are absolutely delighted by today's announcement.
A big royal fight has just started, and this time, it's very personal.
Well, I'm not sure what I'm able to bring. It's what all these very brave ladies tell me. It's seeing is believing.
Carole Middleton's shocking move has reportedly left Queen Camilla devastated, with insiders gossiping that the fallout is far worse than anyone imagined. Behind palace walls, emotions are running dangerously high. What could Carole possibly have done to leave the Queen in tears? And is this the beginning of a deeper royal rift no one saw coming? Join us as we uncover the explosive details, hidden tensions, and the decision that's shaking the monarchy to its core. The two women behind the throne. To understand the chaos currently melting down the royal family, look at the two women pulling the strings. In one corner is Carole Middleton, the mastermind behind one of the most calculated social climbs in British history. In the other corner is Queen Camilla, a woman who spent decades clawing her way to the throne and actually managed to win. Middleton spent years playing the long game while Camilla played the villain until the public finally got tired of complaining. Carole Middleton was born Carole Elizabeth Goldsmith in January 1955 in Southall, West London. She did not come from money. Her family was working class, and her early years were modest by any measure. But Carole had something that money cannot buy, an extraordinary ability to read a room and position herself for what was coming. She worked as a flight attendant for British Airways, and it was in those years that she met Michael Middleton. Together, they built Party Pieces, a mail-order party supplies company that eventually made them millionaires. When her daughter Catherine began dating Prince William in the early 2000s, Carole did not simply stand back and watch. She orchestrated, guided, and created an environment that made the Middletons feel like a natural fit for royalty. And it worked. In April 2011, Catherine Middleton married Prince William at Westminster Abbey, and Carole stood in the front row as though she had always belonged there. Queen Camilla's journey was longer and more painful. She had loved Charles for decades, and their relationship had survived affairs, divorces, public scandals, and the death of Princess Diana, a loss that turned the entire nation against her. For years, Camilla was the most hated woman in Britain. Polls in the 1990s showed approval ratings so low they were almost unfathomable. She was blamed for the breakdown of the fairy tale. She was the villain in the story the public had written, but Camilla endured, and slowly the palace rehabilitated her image. By the time Charles became king in September 2022, Camilla was crowned beside him. She had arrived. Yet according to royal sources, her position at the top has never felt entirely secure. The older courtiers remember the years of public disgrace. The younger ones know better than to take anything for granted inside those walls. And Carole Middleton knows exactly how to exploit that insecurity. What came next between these two women is something the palace never wanted the public to know. The alliance that nobody trusted. For nearly 20 years, Carole Middleton and Queen Camilla played nice for the cameras with fake smiles and plenty of space between them. They showed up to the same boring parties and swapped small talk like professionals. But behind the closed doors of the palace, sources tell the British tabloids a different story. The vibe between them was never about friendship. It was a cold, mutual suspicion disguised as politeness. Nothing says authentic bond like 2 decades of staring each other down while pretending to enjoy lukewarm tea. The drama started years ago. Back when Kate was just a girlfriend and not a princess, Camilla spent her time gossiping about whether the Middletons actually belonged. Nobody can prove exactly what was said, but royal biographers have talked about a noticeable frost between the families since before the wedding. Penny Junor, who has spent way too much time studying these people, pointed out that the palace staff saw the Middletons as a bit too thirsty. They were apparently too polished and a little too good at planning their moves. That reputation stuck like glue. The truce only lasted because everyone was forced to behave. William loved Kate, Kate loved her parents, and Charles had enough baggage with his own messed-up family history that he didn't want to start a new fight. But now, Carole apparently decided to set the whole thing on fire. Reports from the tabloids suggest she made a move regarding royal events that the palace sees as a total slap in the face. While the specifics are still messy, the word is that Carole is actively keeping the Wales family away from any event where Camilla gets to be the star of the show. It takes a lot of nerve to ghost the Queen of England, but Carole seems to have decided that if she can't run the show, she might as well take the kids and go home. Whether this move was a cold calculation or just Carole protecting her daughter's drained battery and recovery time, the result is the same. Camilla noticed. According to people in her circle, it actually stung. Behind closed doors, Camilla is reportedly asking her inner circle if she is being ghosted on purpose. There is something almost impressive about a grandmother making a queen feel like the unpopular kid in the high school cafeteria. It turns out that even with a crown and a kingdom, you can still get insecure when the in-laws stop texting back. What makes this story even more remarkable is who told Camilla about the decision first. The moment that broke her. The people inside the palace almost never talk on the record. They have a code of silence that has lasted for centuries, but every now and then, the truth actually leaks out. Lately, those leaks show a queen who is way more isolated and fragile than her PR team wants you to think. According to a 2024 report in the Mirror, Camilla didn't even find out about Carole's latest moves from official staff or from Catherine herself. She reportedly heard it from a third party. It was just basic palace gossip passed along quietly and indirectly, designed to hit exactly where it hurts. The source claims that when Camilla found out, she didn't get angry. She just looked miserable. According to the story, she sat in silence for a while and barely said a word. People in the room said she looked completely rattled. One insider even used the word broken to describe her. Not annoyed or stuck in a mood, just broken. That word, if accurate, says everything about the precariousness of Camilla's position. She fought for 50 years to stand where she now stands. She survived the hatred of a nation. She outlasted the grief of the public's obsession with Diana. She endured. And yet, reportedly, a decision made by the mother of her stepson's wife was enough to reduce her to tears. Why would Carole's decision carry that much weight? The answer, according to analysts who follow the royal family closely, lies in what the Wales household represents. William and Catherine are the future. They are the faces that the monarchy will wear for the next generation. If Carole is really pulling her family out of Camilla's reach, it's a power move that no amount of fancy press releases can fix. It sends a message that everyone, especially the Queen, heard loud and clear. What reportedly made it sting even more was the absolute radio silence that followed. There was no phone call, no explanation, and zero effort from the Middleton side to make things less awkward. Sources say Camilla actually waited for someone to reach out and clear the air. When that never happened, what was a small rift turned into a permanent scar. The question everyone close to the situation is now asking is whether it was a wound that was ever going to be allowed to heal at all. Carole's calculated rise and what it cost. Carole Middleton doesn't just wake up and wing it. Every move she makes is part of a calculated plan that's been running for 20 years. Some royal parents get their check and disappear into the woods, but Carole stayed right in front of the cameras. Even when her business, Party Pieces, crashed and burned into administration in 2023, she didn't stop. She just pivoted. She kept building her own brand, stayed visible, and made sure the right editors and influencers were on her speed dial. She treats life like a game of chess while everyone else is playing Go Fish. That is like having a business fail and still managing to convince everyone you're a lifestyle guru. That level of delusion is almost impressive. Her daughter's illness changed things. In early 2024, the Princess of Wales announced that she had been diagnosed with cancer. The announcement sent shockwaves through Britain and beyond. Catherine stepped back from royal duties, and Carole, by all accounts, stepped forward. She was reportedly present at the family home in Windsor regularly. She helped care for the grandchildren. She became, in the public imagination, the pillar that was holding the Wales family together during its most frightening chapter. Carole finally got the public to stop looking at her like a social climber by playing the doting grandmother card. It worked perfectly. Everyone swapped the ambitious labels for something softer, and she handled that new reputation like a fragile glass vase. Of course, the version of her in the magazines is carefully curated. The 2024 interviews make her sound like a saint who only cares about family dinner and grandkids. Friends say that's true, but those same people know the truth. Carole didn't just stop being a tactician because she started buying baby clothes. She's still playing the long game. She just changed the outfit. It's truly touching how a well-timed photo op can make people forget 10 years of ruthless social maneuvering. Professional grandmothers are the ultimate PR shield. The two things, in her case, have never been mutually exclusive. She can love her daughter completely and still make moves that serve a longer purpose. And that combination is what makes her so difficult to challenge, even for a queen. But while the public was watching the soft version of Carole Middleton, the private version was making moves. Sources suggest that during Catherine's recovery, Carole became more assertive about which royal obligations were appropriate for the Wales household and which were not. And some of those assessments led to a quiet but unmistakable reduction in the proximity of the Wales family to Camilla's public engagements. Those close to Camilla reportedly noticed. And the hurt was real. What the palace is hiding. The official story is the usual load of nonsense. The palace hasn't said a word about any drama between Carole and Queen Camilla, so everyone is supposed to believe everything is fine. They keep showing up to garden parties and state events with those practiced, empty smiles. The royal PR machine is basically a 24/7 operation at this point, and it's working hard to keep the cracks covered. But people who actually pay attention are starting to see the patterns. Individually, these details look like nothing, but together they tell a story. Catherine's comeback in 2024 has been strictly on her own terms. She is sticking to her own projects and interests, leaving Camilla out of the frame much more than anyone expected. It is fascinating how warmth in royal terms just means two people managed not to trip each other in public. The bar is truly on the floor. Analysts like Dr. Ed Owens, a historian who has written extensively about the British monarchy, have noted that the relationship between different royal households has always been more complex than the public-facing image suggests. In a 2023 piece for The Guardian, he observed that managing the competing interests of multiple royal households have historically been one of the palace's most demanding internal challenges. Other commentators have pointed out that the current era is uniquely fragile. The loss of Queen Elizabeth removed the one figure who could mediate disputes between competing royal factions with genuine authority. Charles is willing, but his health limits his capacity. And in the absence of a single unifying figure, the households are increasingly managing their own relationships, with results that are not always harmonious. What is allegedly unfolding between Carole and Camilla may be partly a consequence of that power vacuum. And the palace, reportedly, is still working out how to fill it. Reportedly, what makes the current situation particularly delicate is the timing. King Charles is himself managing a cancer diagnosis.
When the 77-year-old monarch shared his cancer diagnosis in February 2024, he did so in an effort to raise awareness and assist public understanding for all those around the world who are affected by cancer.
The palace is navigating a period of significant instability. Camilla, who has always been positioned as Charles's strength and anchor, is now dealing with a private emotional wound at the exact moment she is most needed to project calm and authority. Insiders claim that the palace has urged all parties to maintain discretion. But discretion has never been able to fully contain the emotional reality of what is happening inside those walls. And what is happening, according to sources, is that Camilla feels more alone than she has in years. The question now is whether anyone inside the family will acknowledge it and whether it is already too late to repair the damage. Meanwhile, the press has begun circling. Royal correspondents who have covered the family for decades know that when the palace goes very quiet on a particular subject, it usually means something is very loud behind closed doors. The silence around the Carole and Camilla situation has been, by those standards, deafening, and that silence speaks for itself. The family caught in the middle. Whatever is actually going on between Carole and Queen Camilla, Catherine is stuck right in the middle, and it sounds miserable. She is the only link between these two women. She loves her mom, but she also knows she has a job to do next to her husband in the royal circus. On top of that, she's still getting over a massive health scare. People close to the house say she's been trying to play peacemaker behind the scenes. She knows there is tension and is trying to keep her mother's choices from blowing the whole family apart. Friends say she has always been the one to smooth things over. She was playing diplomat long before anyone put a crown on her head. Carole is not the type of person who takes orders. It doesn't matter if the person talking is her own daughter. She spent decades pulling the strings for her family, so being told to sit down and be quiet is causing a massive disaster. Those in her inner circle say this is not just some power trip or a case of being annoying. They swear every single bridge she burns and every mess she makes comes from a weird, obsessive need to protect Catherine. She honestly thinks she is doing her a favor. Whether she is actually helping or just lighting the entire house on fire to keep everyone warm is up for debate. The people close to her swear there is no malice involved here. It is just a mom being a mom. Depending on the perspective, that makes her either a saint or a total nightmare. William is stuck in a weird spot too. He has spent years playing the role of the perfect, loyal son to his father. Since his brother packed up and left, he has worked overtime to look like the stable heir who puts the job above everything else. Any public drama between his in-laws and his stepmother is a massive headache. He wants the noise to stop, and he wants it to happen behind closed doors before things get even more embarrassing. Apparently, William has been having secret chats with Carole and the palace staff to deal with this mess. No one knows exactly what they talked about, but the fact that he has to get involved at all proves this isn't just a small misunderstanding. It is a full-blown problem that needs the highest level of damage control. Whether those talks actually fixed anything is a mystery, because everyone in the palace is staying quiet. Meanwhile, sources say Camilla hasn't asked William for help. She is too proud and has been in this game too long to start acting desperate now. She survived for years by never letting anyone see her sweat, especially the people who matter most. But those closest to her claim that the restraint is costing her. Every day she says nothing is, reportedly, another day the wound stays open. And allegedly, the people who could close it are not yet ready to pick up the phone. Legacy, loss, and what comes next. Behind all the titles and the fake public smiles, this is just a messy human story. You have two women who spent their lives protecting their families and are now supposedly stuck on opposite sides of a disaster they didn't even mean to start. Carole Middleton spent 2 decades engineering a future for her kids. Now her daughter is the Princess of Wales, and her grandkids are next in line for the throne. She used her brain and a lot of patience to play the long game. She managed to get into the inner circle of British high society, which is something you can't just buy with a big bank account and an ego. It's funny how someone can spend 20 years climbing a mountain only to realize the person at the top doesn't want them in the tent. All that planning, and she still has to deal with the same petty drama as everyone else. And yet, that achievement has come with a cost that she may not have fully anticipated. Queen Camilla, for her part, has survived things that would have destroyed most people. She has been vilified, pitied, dismissed, and finally, reluctantly, accepted. The crown she wears is not a symbol of triumph so much as it is a symbol of endurance. She endured. But reportedly, the endurance has taken a toll that the crown cannot cover. And a decision made by a woman in a house in Berkshire has, allegedly, managed to reach her in a place where she thought she was finally safe. Royal commentators have begun to ask whether the rift, if it is real, can be healed before it becomes something more permanent. The monarchy depends, more than anything else, on the appearance of unity. Fractures can be tolerated behind closed doors for years, but eventually they tend to surface. And when they do, they rarely look the way anyone planned. History is packed with women who ran the British monarchy from the sidelines. They never wore the crowns, but they moved kings and queens around like pawns on a board. Carole Middleton doesn't have a title or an official seat at the table, but the choices she makes at home in Berkshire are supposedly hitting the very top of the system. If the rumors are true, the Queen is currently dealing with the fallout of that power. She is left sitting with a grudge she can't show and a wound she isn't allowed to talk about in public. Insiders say Camilla hasn't uttered a single word about this supposed drama in public. She's just kept doing her job with the same robotic calm she's used for decades. But the rumors want us to believe that under that surface, the woman who clawed her way to the top is now drowning in a grief that no royal protocol can fix. Meanwhile, the woman who supposedly caused all this pain is reportedly sleeping like a baby. It's a great story, but it's hard to buy the devastated act when they were just seen sharing a joke at Cheltenham. The sad truth, if any of this is true, is that both women have their reasons. Carole is trying to keep her child safe. Camilla is feeling sad about being left out. The monarchy, like it often does, is stuck between the personal struggles of its members and the public image it has to maintain. In the end, history will show who was right. But history, as the royal family knows well, is not usually nice to the women who get caught up in it. So what does this alleged falling out between Carole Middleton and Queen Camilla say about the monarchy's future? Is this a temporary wound or the beginning of something that cannot be undone? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.